Welcome back to Keto Homestead with Jess. Today I am working on apple pie. I'm going to start here with apple pie filling, so come along with me. First I want to show you the ingredients. I've got 6 cups of yellow squash, peeled and diced up. I've got lemon juice, my stevia, this is granulated, 4 eggs, a whole stick of butter, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, salt, almond flour, psyllium husk, and here I've got unflavored gelatin. Also want to mention the stevia, like I said, is granulated. Please don't go out and buy powdered stevia. There's no need to. You can just go ahead and throw your stevia into a Magic Bullet, NutriBullet, whatever, a blender, and you can have powdered stevia. It's that simple. Don't go out and pay more money for something you can make yourself. Alright, so what I did here was I put a tablespoon of gelatin to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice in here. I stirred that up really well and let that sit. Alright, we're going to start on the pie filling. I have my pot here. I'm going to turn it on medium heat. I'm going to put a whole stick of butter in here. Alright, my butter's melted, so I'm going to take my powdered stevia. This is a 2/3 cups, and I'm going to sprinkle that in. And I think I'm going to use half of the 2/3. By making the granulated stevia into a powder, this will make your pie filling not grainy. It'll be a better, finer texture. And that's why we go ahead and put it in the Magic Bullet and get it all blended up and powdered. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of nutmeg and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Stir that up and turn my heat down just a little bit. I've got my lemon juice and gelatin here. I'm going to add this into it. This is what's going to give the tartness of like what apples have. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now we're going to go ahead and stir in our squash. Now I'm going to let this simmer and cook for 20 minutes on this stove top. I forgot I was going to taste this and see if it was sweet enough. Oh yeah, plenty sweet enough. I'm not going to add any more stevia to it. Alright, now we're going to start on the crust. And we're going to do 2 cups of almond flour. Make sure this is shifted very well. It's really important. So we're going to do 2 cups of almond flour. I'm going to put it in this shifter. Alright, once we have our almond flour sifted, we're going to just add a little bit, maybe a teaspoon of stevia to that. Add 1 tablespoon of psyllium husk, then blend that up. I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Add in a teaspoon of my sea salt, 4 eggs, go ahead and mix those in. Half a stick of melted butter. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and divide this into 2. This will make your top crust and your bottom crust. I also want to say, do not get discouraged if your pie filling doesn't look like mine. It depends on the size of your eggs you're using and the altitude you live in. If your crust is just a little too wet, add a little bit more almond flour to it. If it's too dry, add another egg to it. Just work with it until you figure out what works. Once your dough is ready, it should be this consistency. It should not stick to your hands. Alright? It should feel like a regular dough ball, just with almond flour. On my dough here, I got a parchment paper under, parchment paper on top. We'll get to rolling this out. I've got my dough, my bottom dough rolled out. Now, don't get frustrated. When I first started cooking and baking, I used to get really frustrated. My pie crust or whatever I was working with didn't always work the way I wanted it to. It just takes practice. It takes time. Just like anything else in life, it takes practice. So, don't be so hard on yourself. You're just making this for your family. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to take this and flip it into our pie crust. Now, the thing is, since we're using almond flour, we don't need to butter the bottom of this pan because it has enough oil in it. It should not stick. So, let's get this flipped in. Now the trick with this is slowly start pulling the edges away, the parchment paper away, and take your time because it will rip, and that's fine if it does rip. Just be careful. See, there goes mine, it ripped. That's alright. And push it back in there. Go ahead and lightly press down on the pan. I guess I could have got this a little more even, but that's alright. Just go ahead and press the edges. I'll just push the sides down a little bit on this uneven side. If it's too much, go ahead and just take it off. It don't matter, it's your pie. Make it the way you want. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So, now I'm going to go ahead and start my other pie crust. I have my top pie crust down. So, what I am going to do is I'm going to try to trick Barrett. So, in my pantry I have home canned apple pie filling that's his. It's not keto. And I am going to cut my pie top as a traditional apple pie so I can see if I can trick him. And I'm going to have him taste this later when he gets up for whatever lunch or dinner or whenever he decides to eat. I'm going to have him try a piece and see if he can tell the difference if it's keto apple pie or regular apple pie, and we'll see. I know you guys are probably wondering, like, yeah, me and Barrett have been together 10 years. Why hasn't he tried my recipes over this time? Well, actually he has. He was keto for 6 months. He lost 45 pounds. He did really good health-wise. He had less swelling in his legs, less bloating. He did really well. And for some reason, he decided that he missed his Hershey chocolates and all his sweet ice creams and things like that, so he quit doing keto. I got a little upset and I told him, alright, if you're done doing keto, you can't eat any of my keto stuff then. It's a waste. Well, so that's the backstory. I refuse to let him eat any of my recipes. Now, that was 6 years ago. Well, about 5 years ago, because he did the keto for 6 months. So 5 years ago, so he hasn't ate any of, like, technically my keto recipes at all. If I make a keto apple pie, it's for me, and then I'll make him his regular apple pie. Vice versa, if I do a pumpkin pie for me, it's keto. If I do a pumpkin pie for him, it's regular with sugar and everything. So that's why he hasn't tried any of these recipes. And I am so happy, honestly, that I did that, because he can actually give you guys a real take on his taste test and what they taste like. So it's a real reaction when he does taste this stuff for you guys. So that's my plan today. I'm gonna see if I can trick him. I've got my pie crust, my top, cut in strips so I can make a lattice. Right, our filling is done, so we're going to go ahead and add this in to our pie crust. Now we're going to start working on putting our lattice on. So just peel it up off the paper as best as you can. Alright guys, my lattice work is done. It's not perfect, that's fine. If you don't want to do lattice work, you can just take that pie crust and roll it out, put a couple slits in it, and put it on top of your pie and be done with it. I just wanted to do this to make it look like a traditional apple pie. Now we're going to take my egg wash and brush this lattice work with the egg wash. If you do the pie crust just flat, like I said, I would go ahead and brush that with egg wash as well. And I don't have one of those nifty, I don't know, what did you call it? You put it around the edge of your pie so your edges don't burn. I don't have one of those. If you have one, go ahead, feel free to put that on. I'm not going to because I don't have one, but also I like the burnt edges. I like that crunch. So let's get this in the oven. Alright, I am going to get my oven on 375. Make sure nothing's in the oven, which there is. Alright, I suggest putting your apple pie on a baking sheet in case it spills over. Just put the pie in the oven at 375, and I'm going to go ahead and let that cook for 30 to 35 minutes. I'll check it after about 20 minutes and then check it every 10 minutes after that. I just pulled out my apple pie. It looks so good and it's crusty just the way I like it. I did leave it in for 30 minutes and then I just shut the oven off and let it stay in there until it cooled off a little bit. It's still warm, but it's not like hot. But it looks so good. Let me give you a close-up. Doesn't that look beautiful? I can't wait to cut into this. Hopefully he doesn't know the difference. We'll see.
No. No way.
Alright guys, so in fairness, as you know, I made this apple pie out of yellow summer squash, and Barrett hates yellow summer squash.
Don't ever do that. You just ruin the whole pie.
I think it tastes amazing. I think it tastes a lot like apple pie, and for a low carb alternative, this is a great choice. So I hope you try this recipe. I hope you like it. I hope you leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of this apple pie, and I hope to see you soon.